All right.
It's time. We're going to have a debate now. All right. Kali, will you moderate?
Hey, you want to get super fancy?
Is moderating telling you both to shut the fuck up every time one of you opens your mouth?
Do you want to get super fancy, Brian?
Maybe.
Do you want to do a video call?
No.
Oh my
It's
god.
so unnecessary.
I mean, we could. If I could just get
content.
if I just get your video, if I get your face up on video and put it in here, sure.
Hold on, I got a face for you to put up. Hold up.
Well, I'd have to.
Amazing.
I would just call you on Discord and we'd get it like through that.
Oh, totally.
You can just get an image of Monk. That'd be fine. Just put up Monk's face. Here.
Right.
I mean, I love that. Don't get me wrong.
No,
but...
full parody. Full parody.
Oh my god.
There you go. There you go. Full parody.
Wow. No, I'm not gonna do him like that. All right, Monk. I accept. The gauntlet has been thrown.
Okay, let me put on a shirt real quick. I'll be right back.
Hell yeah, that's what's up. So we're debating over whether or not debate is good or bad. After just watching that video on why debate is, well, I mean, it's not bad, but it's bad in certain certain ways.
Full parody, right?
I don't know. Probably not. Monk's a funny guy, but I don't know if this is something that he's joking about. What about a deer bait? Oh wow.
What about bats? Oh, deer bait. I thought it said bats. I'm too far away from my computer.
No, it's my deer.
Oh dear.
It's my deer.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. All right, let's see. This ought to be a laugh.
This ought to be fucking terrible.
Oh, it's gonna be bad.
I'm only here to be audience representation.
That's
audience, project yourselves onto me.
That's important, especially considering that I am just the fucking worst debater. Just remember, I don't do this with anybody. Yeah, this is like very bad.
Whether or not you should buy 100% orange juice.
No, I don't. What am I gonna say? I don't like it. You're gonna be like, that's subjective, and I will say yes.
You haven't played it.
You're right. I haven't played it.
I'm gonna call you real quick.
Okay. All right, I'm hopping into there.
Okay, you get me there.
All right.
Yes.
I'm gonna ask Monk if he wants to have all three of us in there, and then we'll figure it out. Oh hey Monk, my nemesis.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. All right, how am I gonna make this work?
I think Discord won't be able to use your webcam if
it won't unless I. Yeah, that's the whole thing.
So you can just move my face. I don't need to see you. You can just move my face.
Yeah, I figured you could just look at the stream.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah, it's fine.
Thank goodness. Okay, that'll work just fine then. Shboota boop. Also, do you want to bring Kali in to moderate or no?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Am I not with Kaalia?
Oh my god. Also, nice sweater.
I have to be.
I like that sweater.
Thank you. Hold on.
Okay, let's see. I'm gonna find some nice battle music. Let's see. Perfect.
Oh, I know why.
It's okay.
If you really want to make this a debate, Gutian's in dumpster.
Bring her in.
I can handle it. I'm
Give me a minute. I'll be right back.
Shit, no, she's gonna be on your side.
Yeah, I know. I was about to say I don't want this to be the dunk on Brian.
I know. I'm gonna get
It's
fucked.
essentially while we wait for Gutian. Oh wait.
Okay, I'm bringing in a special guest star.
Oh god. Well,
I hope this is what you wanted, because this is what you're fucking getting.
oh god, I'm gonna get fucking.
This is blood sports, okay?
I'm gonna get fucking.
You wanted internet blood sports? I brought the fucking queen.
I'm gonna get fucking thrown to the curb on all this.
So essentially,
Okay.
hold on. I've waited 30 some odd minutes to come on here.
Give me a second. I gotta
Oh,
change
shit.
my professional profile picture.
It was more like 2 minutes. 20
Yeah.
minutes, I mean. Excuse me.
Whatever. And what I want to say is essentially the issue that's being communicated. The video is half right in that a debate is not actually a measure of who is the most correct, but who appears the most correct. But the thing that's typically left out of all of these conversations is that, unfortunately, humans don't possess the ability to beam ideas directly into each other's brains. And we have to go through some sort of
Maybe you don't.
we have to go through some sort of kind of rhetorical process to get us there, right? That can be like a blog post, that can be like an essay, that can be a news article, or it can be like a public debate. And each of these forms has some specific strengths and weaknesses, but at the same time, like, the weaknesses that are being ascribed to debate in a lot of these arguments, saying debate is bullshit, are weaknesses not of debate, but of any a way of communicating ideas publicly at all. You could say the same thing that writing an op-ed article is more about appearing correct than actually being correct, or writing any sort of like blog post is more about appearing correct than actually being correct. And you'd be right in saying that. These like rhetoric is never been about being correct. It always has to go through like you always have to seem correct before anyone will go out and do the research to see whether or not you actually are correct.
Okay. So you're saying that because it's a problem with many media, it's all right. I'm gonna turn this meme ass music off. Sorry.
Sure.
It was fun while it lasted. So I'm horribly unprepared to talk about this. Just FYI. While I think that that debate itself is one of the worst platforms for this, though, where you have multiple people with of varying skill talking to each other about something in a way that appears to be truthful. Like, it's supposed to be a quest for truth in like this classical sort of liberal mindset that we're all born into, where you could read an op-ed and you'd say that's not necessarily truth. Like, op-ed, it says it's an op-ed. You're listening to a pundit. I mean, some people take pundits as truth, but it's not like...
As the moderator, Gutian, you're being very unprofessional and eating while debating.
I'm-
I don't appreciate it.
I'm fucking hungry.
I'm for it. I'm about it.
You have no idea how hungry I am.
Girl, get your snack on. It's good. Put on DMB for the debate. Fuck no. So... All right, now I'm all distracted. I can't remember what I was talking about. Fuck. What was I saying right before this?
You could look at a pundit and say that they're not necessarily telling the truth.
Oh, yeah.
They're a pundit. Okay.
Yeah, they're a pundit. So, they're, like, if somebody's on Fox News and they're a pundit, you're like, oh, wow. Well, it's probably not giving me, like, facts-based information. It's opinions, right? And you get that from a great many sources. There's, we all have varying scales of, like, what we accept as truth and what we accept as opinion and what we accept as... And, yeah. Debate being one of those things that people think is just like a fight to find the truth. Like, you're having a mental battle looking for some truth. That's how it's been framed.
Sure, but isn't that a problem with the framing of any sort of rhetorical process rather than the rhetorical process itself? Like, you can you say the debate isn't actually a quest for truth, but I would argue that nearly any sort of mass communication is not and cannot be a search for truth in the way that people ascribe debates to. You can't divine the 100% truth from a debate, just like you can't divine the 100% truth from any individual.
Uh-oh. Fs? Can you try?
All right.
Can
Cool.
you do that last
I'm
bit?
taking over.
Can you do that last bit again, though?
Oh, okay. I don't think you can necessarily divine the truth from debate, but I also don't necessarily think you can divine the truth 100% from any form of mass media. It's simply an issue of like these are two things are made for different purposes, and I think that the statement debate is not a valid way of reaching a truthful conclusion about an issue that leads to like a mutual understanding and moving forward of ideas. That's correct, but debate is not like bullshit because of this. Debate is not something that shouldn't be engaged in because of this. Debate is something that should be engaged in responsibly based on what it does accomplish, and what it does accomplish is marketing. And when there are people out there, like there's like a third of the USA who are like completely wrong about like a bunch of issues and like voting for Trump or things like that, there has to be some sort of rhetorical strategy to reach those people and to get them to change their minds on things. And a debate is not necessarily one debate is not necessarily going to do it, but what works is creating like an atmosphere where these ideas are challenged and not assumed as correct.
Sure, and debate as a thing, like even if we ignore the fact that, you know, I mean, I'm jumping in here very hard, and I've like been very distracted right now, obviously, because I'm at the mercy of a horrible fan base. But like debate, the importance of a lot of these debates necessarily like is not that your aim is to go out there and, you know, and do an academic debate and be convincing in an academic way kind of thing, but your aim there is effectively to present or to effectively showcase a weaknesses in your opponent, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's like the main aim of most online debates, like debate, especially on Twitch, right, or YouTube. It's about making your opponent look weaker in front of their audience, and in the hopes that, you know, if you do that, that some of their audience might go, well, hang on, like this is interesting, like this person looks ridiculous here. Like, I don't know if we brought it up yet, but you know, we've got to get it for the fucking those clicks. But a lot of people do attribute, you know, Destiny as a person who did very well during his period of time when he was going after right-wingers.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people do attribute that as a way for them to see those right-wingers in a light that they hadn't otherwise seen them at that point.
Mm-hmm.
A light that was a very negative light. A light where they were just basically falling over themselves to look like complete idiots because they had nothing to say of value at all.
Mm-hmm.
And that there in itself is a valuable thing. Is that these debates do, to a degree, no, for the most part, sure. A lot of their audience won't be convinced at all. But if any percentage of their audience is convinced, surely that's better than none, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, you know, there's a math to this, of course, that you have to think about how the audience that you bring with you is affected as well. I do think that Destiny's fan base had probably nowhere to go but left from where he was at the time, though, and that's where they were at the time. I wouldn't be surprised. Gamers are notoriously something. Yeah. But that's it. It's like you have to do all this math around like whether or not this is a person that you're trying to like that has a bigger platform than you. And I honestly don't know how Destiny's platform measured up when he was starting out with that against all these against all the like major YouTube players, right?
What do you mean by measured up here? So I'm just confused.
Just like audience size, basically.
Oh, significantly smaller.
Yeah.
Also, Gutian, you're being called out in chat.
Gutian came to my chat.
What's up, Lexi?
When she just left. I came in, said something, you didn't respond to me, and then I was like, okay, you're clearly busy. I'll just bounce.
Lexi wants in.
Lexi wants in. Yeah, let's do it. Fucking let's do it. This is gonna get nasty. We're doing it.
Like, yeah, okay. So I've been told this to people a lot right now. Like, and this is me hating on you, Twitch people. So like the Twitch people out there, your size, like legitimately, like your like the amount of impact that you can plausibly have with regards to like the views and stuff, and like the amount of like actual like audience that you have is so much smaller than people from like Twitch and whatnot, right? Sorry, from YouTube. Like Twitch is significantly smaller than people on YouTube. Like if we just look at like total views that people are receiving on their like accounts and stuff, like it's significantly smaller. So Destiny going in there, even Destiny like talking to like one of the big YouTubers now, Destiny would still be massively smaller than them, right? Like I mean Jesus Christ, look at like how like you know, one of the like mediocre sized YouTubers. I mean that's like H-Bomber guy, ContraPoints, Philosophy Tube, they're all mediocre sized YouTubers, regardless of how much you look at. They're not big. They're not over 1 million yet. But even them coming to the Twitch platform for a brief period of time, they were pulled in like, you know, 5K view kind of things, right? They were pulling in the same numbers that Destiny was while they were just came in, and then they haven't like got a consistent audience at all. They haven't got a consistent like base. That was literally just them just coming over for like 2 or 3 days, and they pulled the same numbers. Like if they built a consistent base, they'd probably be even bigger. But I mean, Destiny's not the biggest person on Twitch, obviously. Like I mean, there are like 20K view people out there. Like I don't know, like Zerka. Is Zerka the big one? I don't remember.
I'm the biggest Twitcher.
It's true.
I mean, to be fair, most of the biggest Twitchers are either like idiots or chuds. So.
Like they're mostly gamers. That's the main.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a gaming fucking platform, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. So we're debating.
We're debating.
Yeah, whether or not it's actually good.
This started.
Wait, what are the positions going around?
I have no idea. I was dragged into this, and I've got still no idea what anybody's talking about.
I am the only person here, I believe, who is, well, Kaalia might be too, but Kaalia's here as more of a moderator than a debater.
I ain't arguing with fucking Gutian. I ain't stupid.
I don't know what. Like, I'm not that bad. I'm not like Destiny or Vosh or something. Like...
Anyways, I'm the only person here lamping for the debating being shitty. And
so what do you mean? Wait, what do you mean when you say it's shitty?
Okay, so I think that debates are all right. So my big like first take here was that debates are bullshit, and that's like what I started with. But of course, because I'm an asshole who says things loudly and then backpedals, of course. The real tea here is that fucking debating is something that you have to do a great amount of thinking about who you're platforming and where you're platforming them, kind of who's being exposed to things. It's a very challenging platform to kind of suss out what the effects of what you're having.
Well, I also don't think that the math of it necessarily works out where if you have a bigger platform than someone else, then you absolutely should not debate them. I don't think that form of,
well, yeah.
I don't think
I also agree. I think it should more be down to your capability, right? If you have the capability to go in there and be successful, and you can basically you can come out looking better or on top in that debate.
Wait, what does be successful mean there?
Be successful here would be that you come out of there not looking like you've effectively lost on every single position or folded in like every single possible way.
This becomes less of a debate about ideas than a debate about optics.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Debates are massively optical related. I mean, ultimately, ideas aren't getting crossed.
I don't think anyone like in this sphere right here, any of the debates that we have, are not to convince the person that we're talking to usually. If we're talking to anyone with any audience whatsoever, like, I don't know, I pull on people from chat all the time, and that's a little different because mostly it's like a conversation. It's not really a debate, but like a real debate, a debate between like people with platforms, you're never trying to convince the other person. You're always trying to convince like some section of their audience. And that's an impossible thing to measure. We can guess at some of it, I think, but like there's no measurement for convincing the odd. Like you hope that you reach some level of them through through you think that you can do a good enough job with your argumentation and through exposing certain you have like rhetorical traps and shit like that set up, but like you will never actually know how many of them you affected.
Oh, totally.
Just give me 2 seconds. How long do you reckon this is gonna be running for? Because I might start streaming.
Oh, I don't know. I was just gonna switch over to doing games at some point.
A podcast, we can just talk about different shit.
Mostly just because I haven't streamed in like a week because I was busy. And now I'm like,
just
oh, shit,
fucking do it. Just
Yeah, if you
fucking
want to do it, it's fine. I'm not offended at all.
Listen,
Uh,
Lexi's streaming too.
Yeah, I
Let's
mean,
just
I'm
get everyone on
streaming,
our
sorry.
Twitch in.
Stream party.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
not
like,
streaming,
yeah,
fuck
like,
that.
okay. Also, there's like,
I
I
have
mean,
like
there's a
two
degree we
chats
talk
to
about like
read. Give me a minute.
when we talk about this like thing. I guess like there's a degree of like element of like imposing, right? Like, I mean, like when you talk about like you don't like debates, would you be like you don't like debates and therefore you don't want people to engage in debates, or do you just not like debates and you don't want to engage them, right? Because I mean, if it's you don't like them, you don't want to engage them, then I'm not gonna. I can't argue against that because I'm like, well, I'm
Right.
not gonna force you to debate. Like, I'm not gonna force you to debate people. I would never force anyone to try to have
It's
to debate.
also-
probably a bad idea to have someone who doesn't want to and is not good at debates to go out, encourage them to go out
That's
and debate if they want to.
That's the operative part right there. I'm very bad at debating. I'm sure you've
Yeah.
noticed.
Even as bad at debating. Sorry.
But the idea here is that I feel like a lot of people engage in debates without giving it the thought that it is required, which leads to bad outcomes sometimes.
Do you have an example? I'm curious who you're thinking of.
Oh gosh.
I can probably think of a couple of examples to help Brian here. If you want one, I can give you one. You want one?
Like any student
Sure.
that goes up to challenge Ben Shapiro when he's speaking is probably an
That's
example.
probably a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
I'd
it.
also say one of the non-compete Destiny debates
Yeah, that
was
wasn't.
it.
Wait,
Just,
did you have more than one?
there was two. The first
Oh.
one was the one with the where Destiny like did the whole Vietnam thing. But Destiny logically agreed that Vietnam was a good thing. And the second one was just non-compete just didn't do very well. It might have been the same one. I just remember it's just a very long debate.
Okay.
But
Alright.
like non-compete isn't really a debater as such. So like he didn't come into that with the mindset that was like prepared to engage in that kind of thing. I would actually say a lot of the lefties that went into debate Destiny weren't people who were used to debating and came off looking like didn't come off looking optically as good as they could have if they were like much more prepared for that.
Mhm.
Like non-compete, the Serfs, Peter Coffin, all of them
I
didn't
think the
do
Peter Coffin
massively
one was
well.
the worst. Well, the second one. The first one wasn't a debate. The first one, Peter Coffin was just trying to like appeal to Destiny on like a very like human level. But on the second one, Peter Coffin did a terrible job in my opinion. I think
Uh,
it made
well,
the
I
refs
mean,
look really bad.
So
I talked to him about it afterwards, and he was just like, I was so sick of Destiny and Destiny fan base at that point. And I was like, you probably shouldn't have gone on. He's like, yeah, you're right, I should not have gone on.
yeah.
Yeah.
The example that I don't want to use, but is like probably my best example.
Here we go.
I don't want to use, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
Uh,
Say it. Come on.
Wind Maves regularly has.
Right, babes?
I don't want to say it for real, even
Twitch
though
Dave
my
Rubin.
yeah doesn't have the most responsible practices about who to bring on, trying to promote a lefty agenda, and you know, what's the regardless of what you think of Mind Waves as a person, like a lot of the like having Lecture Fan on, having Killer Steven on, having
I'd say Sheepdog.
Sheepdog
Way more.
on.
Again, I
Way
want
more.
to say that having these people on isn't like in and of itself the end all and be all on whether or not you're responsibly platforming them. Right?
Well, yeah,
It's
and then
very
not
much possible. Yeah.
and then not challenging them effectively. I mean, for the most part, people on the platform have done a pretty good job of fighting back against them, and that's good.
Wait, isn't he like the moderator though? Should he fight back?
No, he shouldn't.
So, the
Oh,
problem with his, I have out of everybody in this universe, apparently, I've put the most effort into trying to define why Mind Waves is a bad moderator. And I could point to examples from a variety of different debates, but if you want to go to the debate with Sheepdog and with Killer Steven and with myself and like Mike and shit, the issue that we had was that most of mine and Mike's time in that debate was spent effectively. Sheepdog would say something incredibly fucking like just a flat out lie about trans people, like, oh, a
Right.
trans woman a month ago just went and raped 5 kids or something, and we would then go ahead and be like, here is literally zero evidence for this fact. You just said this out. You lied about this, and then Mind Waves would say nothing about it. He would just let their lies effectively stand, and like we would just be spending the entire time basically just debunking lies, and that was the entire fucking debate, like the 40 minutes we spent on like trans issues.
Like a moderator should intervene in the conversation.
Yeah. If someone is actively lying consistently, and it's turning into a problem where the other people are not actually able to put forward their positions, then that's bad moderating. Because it's not allowing an actual debate to happen. It's just basically fucking someone dousing fires at that point for like non-stop.
Also, Monk, it looks like you.
Yeah, you look frozen.
You look real frozen, Monk. Okay.
Oh, you're back.
You're back.
Okay.
I don't think Monk
I just heard all of the audio from the past 5 seconds come back into my ears at once.
Wow.
But yeah, as optically speaking, though, that debate was a good thing for me, mostly because Sheepdog got real hurt and left 2 hours early, which was optically speaking looked good.
Yeah, I felt kind of okay. So I've been on a couple of the Mind Waves debate memes. I always feel like, and I've said this a lot. Okay, first of all, separate thing for saying, Killer Steven just followed me on Twitter today, and weird. I don't like that.
Block him and then unblock him if you want to keep track of him, but you don't want him following you.
You could do what? Hold on. You could do what Gutian did when Shuan had followed her. Is retweet myself, saying "fuck this person."
Oh no, Shuan Head still follows me.
Oh damn! Wow, wow.
I can't. They're never gonna stop following me, I think.
Oh shit. Hey, Nebu Mae, thank you for the raid. Appreciate it.
Shit, hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
But I was gonna say, I every time I've been on these panel podcasts with where it's like, you know, a group of lefties and maybe 1 or 2 righties, and you know, lefty, I'm including liberal in this when I probably shouldn't, but I've always found that the right wingers just meme and then like walk away from the conversation, and it's really frustrating, and I don't know actually how to handle it, like as a moderator, because you can't be like, well, that's not a real, like, I guess you could be like, that's not a real point, but it's really frustrating. It's just over and over again. I've seen some. There was West, I don't even remember, West BTW.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like the entire time that like I was on there, I wasn't even on like the whole one, but it was just memes the entire, like no one could have a real conversation because he's a fucking, he was just memeing the whole time. Killer Steven did the same thing. Oh, everyone should have nukes. Oh, you know, who cares if, you know, McDonald's has their own private army that they use to like engage in wars with, you know, and other people. You know, it's fine. It's all fine. No, there's no problems here. And even if there are problems, it doesn't matter anyways, because this position is, you know, incoherent, essentially, is how he looked at it, which was really interesting, how he has a position that he knows is kind of incoherent and still holds it anyways. That was weird. But like every time I've had these conversations, it ends up being like this. And I don't know if there's actually like a good way to moderate that. Like it's without just like being like, you just didn't engage last time, so I'm not letting you on again.
Well, I mean,
that would be the best way to moderate that.
I mean,
I think if someone's not, if you're
easiest
inviting.
sorry.
So if you're in a situation where you're like a moderator of like a panel, right? The idea is that if you're presenting 2 sides like this, you want to present both sides, or the framing of having, okay, we have some people from this side and some people from this side, and I as a moderator have picked these people out to represent their sides. There's a framing there that whether you admit that or not, I'm not you specifically, but anyone. There's a framing there that both of these sides and both of these people representing these sides are equally valid, and unless the moderator specifically challenges that, the people who are there just memeing are being granted a platform, right? If you are bringing people onto your platform and not challenging them as a moderator, then you are in effect unethically platforming them because you're not actually ensuring that there are any sort of standards of quality being met on the conversation. If it's just one other person, it's a little bit different, and because it's just one person being attacked, but it's the moderator's show and the moderator's responsibility to make sure that happens.
I think I would largely agree with what you said there. I think that look, I have my own like moderating issues. I've moderated the Debate Make Debate Face a couple of times, a lot of times, the only times they've ever had them actually, and I feel like I do a really bad job moderating there, but I feel like moderating is a little bit harder than people give it credit for sometimes.
Oh, for sure.
It's really hard to, because like the ways that I know how to have conversations generally are like, I don't just like tell someone that they're like outright wrong on a lot of things. Like I like tease out positions generally. When someone says something that I think is pretty wrong, like I'll ask them questions about it, and it to like show what they actually believe, and generally that is like incoherent and stuff like that. But I don't know. I don't know. Like, and I would agree that like having these people on, like again, like more than once is generally probably like a pretty irresponsible. But just in like the actual moments, like you want the other people to be able to put forth better arguments to show that they're the other person's wrong, and taking a stand against them makes you look like a biased moderator, regardless of like your actual bias. The appearance of a biased moderator is really unpleasant.
Oh,
absolutely.
I would say most moderation.
I mean, the issue is if not going against them is ultimately.
I agree, but it doesn't come off as biased though. Is the difference?
I mean, even stepping up on somebody's basically just memeing and wasting everybody's time and saying, "Hey, respect other people's time and stop memeing and take the conversation seriously," is an effective form of moderation.
I agree, and I wish that happened more. I'm not trying to defend mind waves here.
No.
Totally.
I actually haven't watched a lot of Big Brain. I've only fucking paid attention to the ones I was on because I'm a narcissistic asshole. But,
I mean, so I don't know. I think this like hints at like a real problem with the platform though, is that people can come in and just drop bombs like that. You were talking about people coming in.
Mindwaves as a platform or Twitch as a platform?
No, not Mindwaves or Twitch as a platform. Debating podcasts as a platform is that people can come in and drop bombs of untruth and just be like, fuck it, and just leave go fully on the offensive and let other people clean up after them. It just like that is a. It's very hard to make that look. It's very hard to have good optics after that from the standpoint of their viewers.
Sure, and I would honestly say that most of the time, because Lexi is absolutely right. Moderating is actually really difficult. I don't mean to say that moderating is easy, just that it's that there are ways to do it. Yeah, it's important to actually do it.
Sure. Also, serious question. I mean, like you guys have. I don't know if you guys are moderated, but like I said, like I know this is when I was coming to this. I was talking to fucking Relevant about this, like a week ago or some shit, in a conversation that ultimately was very boring because most people were in like a debate, and I was mostly just coming trying to like criticize. My words, but like I have a background in moderating academic debates. I've done moderating for academic debates during high school and also during my first 2 years of college / university. So like I understand like the way that kind of goes. Like I actually have like there's like and academic debates are much more like much more structured and rigid in like the moderating and that kind of thing. In the, like I mean like half the stuff that like flies on like Twitch just wouldn't happen. Basically in those kind of debates. But like the big key things that I find like is the problem is the inaccurate use of fallacies and the inaccurate use of debate terms is a big problem because it's like you can't act like you're like, oh, it's not a serious debate, it's just a Twitch debate, but then also still trying to use like serious debate terms and then use them wrong because then it gives off a really bad impression.
Wait, did anyone here watch the Sargon Vosh debate?
No.
I did in preparation for my Sargon debate.
Did anyone notice when Sargon said that any appeal to authority is a fallacious appeal to authority?
That
shit was so painful. Oh my god! But that's exactly like. Sorry, I only bring it up because it's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, like another because like more consistent ones I see as well is like bad faith actors is a common one, which is anybody who disagrees with you or is like says something you don't like is a bad faith actor. It's like, well, no, like a bad faith actor is someone who actively comes in and
sounds like a Gish galloping Gish.
Any arguments at all. Like,
thank you for the
provide any argument or any ideas.
Thank you for the emotes, Nabu Man. It's great.
And then like like that one, ad hominem's a common one too. Ad hominem, like just any insults and ad hominem, which isn't true.
That is.
I understand. Like, this is the problem though. Like it's these people attempt to pretend to like use debate terms, and it's mostly because most of them learned them from the Destiny sphere, and they learned them wrong there. And they've just like tried to apply them elsewhere, but it doesn't. They don't work elsewhere. It just looks really bad because it's like trying to be a debate, but it's really failing at like even like the most basic levels of being a debate. Like I call them Twitch arguments because they're not really debates.
Yeah,
right.
Like at all.
Wait, so a lot of this conversation has been about like panel debates, Mindwave style things, Big Brain podcast,
Raj Royale kind of things. Yeah.
Oh,
I just want to give other things.
Sure. I know you're.
I don't want to be targeted,
No, please. I don't think you are trying to target them that specifically. But how do we feel about like one-on-ones, just in general? Is it do you have any like different feelings about them, or is it exactly the same?
I think
it depends on how rhetorically you address the other people and the audience. I think just like as when you're moderating a discussion, a lot of the responsibility to make sure people don't like run away with the conversation falls on you. But when there's no moderator and it's just one-on-one, then both of you have to moderate each other in a sense. And if you're not calling out someone else's bullshit, then you're probably not platforming them well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think honestly the best way to go about it would be to have a third party moderator to step in, but of course that's what's the word? Challenging to set up. That's logistically a problem, right? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, single debates I think are a lot better than panel debates. Ultimately speaking, I think like one-on-one debates are a lot easier to actually get like decent ideas across and to actually start presenting more
Complex ideas. Is my opinion. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Sorry.
No.
I interrupted you. I'm sorry. What I was going to say is my problem with the panel debates is usually that you can't get to any of like the complex nature of things. So for example, we were talking about gender, and because every time on a fucking podcast we talk about transgender stuff because hey, guess who's trans? And we
what are you talking about? That never happens.
Never happens.
Never ever. But because of that, there's of course there's always like the one or two righties that like disagree, or like we'll just do like sex and gender are the same thing. I mean, there's two genders. They'll just meme like that, and I feel like okay, something that really bothered me during one of these, Destiny put forth the argument that hey, we should accept trans identities because trans people kill themselves at like a significant rate. And I was like, wait a second, that's not why we support trans people. Hold on, that's like a terrible argument. And I tried to push him on it right then, but it seemed to kind of convince the other guy, so I didn't push too hard. And then after it, I talked to Destiny like privately, or not really private, I talked to him like one-on-one for a minute, and I was like, wait, you don't really believe this, right? Like, that's not a very good argument. So I feel like a lot of times on these panel debates we get like the 10-word argument instead of like the complex truth of the nature, and it leads to people thinking that other arguments are valid when they're not. So like I would really hate for someone else to say, well, look at all these white supremacists who are killing themselves because they can't realize their utopian goal of an ethno state. Therefore, we have to take their positions as valid. Like, no, that's not why the position is valid. The position is valid because of gender theory. It has nothing to do with how many people kill themselves.
I mean,
and that's a bad thing.
Say that, but the idea of all these white supremacists just being like, oh no, I'll never get my ethno state.
On a more serious note, in the same instance of like how we like shorten complex ideas into 10-word statements, it kind of goes the same as like the tone of speaking and the speed of which you speak. Like even right now, a few of us are like enhancing how we normally speak so we can get our points out quicker because it's the rapid fire nature of these sorts of podcasts and debates and everything. And you're so afraid of getting cut off and you just want to get your point in because you're just so fucking smart and you know what you're saying and everything like that. So people just speed up exactly what they're saying so they don't get cut off.
Nope, I'll do that anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why Gutian's a really good debater.
And for people who are like slower on the gunfire and are like slower to talk and slower for speaking, or like don't speak as fast or don't have the capabilities to speak as fast, they get kind of drowned out even if they have the right ideas or they're saying the right things because people will just try to like talk them in circles.
Great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. So the alternative that I think would work maybe better for this kind of thing is more just, I don't know, like in-person kind of like conversations, but of course that's logistically impossible if you're trying to change a lot of minds at once.
They're different. Yeah, they're different, completely different formats. Like an in-person conversation, you can't expect to cultivate a personal relationship with every single person who you need to change the mind with.
No.
And again, like an individual debate, I don't think will change a whole lot of minds. The issue is that it's people's people learn things not through like someone telling them something once in a debate. They learn them through having the motivation to they learn them by having the motivation to learn things themselves and through a process of self-actualization. Like there's never going to be a time when you hear someone just say something and then suddenly you have knowledge of a topic. You might learn like a fact or two that way, but like actual like in-depth knowledge of something is something that has to be intentionally cultivated by the person who would like to have that knowledge.
Also just like exposure to narratives and ideas is really I think
Great.
is more important than necessarily the medium that they're coming in through. Just like getting the ideas out there to people generally has an effect of normalizing them in their minds, and that's a good thing. I mean,
Sure.
that's the double-edged sword, though, of course, because if you're bringing people on who believe in something
Toxic.
toxic,
but
that's good.
Yeah, I was talking to Kai about this like a while ago, but like the and this is linked to the big recent thing. But with the Mind Waves TV thing and the whole debate, the one we all know, we don't need to say what it was. But that debate itself, like there's behind that debate, there is somewhere an interesting academic debate, right? A debate where if we're doing it on an academic platform, there would be probably something to say about this idea of using, the usage of derogatory slurs in a private setting as an academic debate, definitely. But the problem is that debate, as it was in the way that it was done and the way that it was held, was never going to be a good debate. It was never going to have decent positions that were being held. It was never going to have that's the problem. I mean, come out that one I don't know what the positions everyone on that platform going into the debate were, and I have no idea what the intentions of coming out that was. It felt like Destiny was trying to do the academic element of that, which is a bad idea because it's automatically going to set up people's emotional things in that, especially the way that he was doing it, which is a negative. Because if you're setting up people's emotional things, you're not actually getting to the root of an actual logical debate around it. You're basically just going straight to just triggering people, which is negative. You don't want that in an academic debate setting.
Wait,
Yeah.
I have 2 questions. And this is about slurs. Would you say any slur if it would end all systemic racism?
What?
It's a fantasy. It's a 100% a fantasy. It's a crazy hypothetical. But would you say a slur if it ended racism?
I guess,
Yeah.
but that's like saying would I go and fuck Elon Musk if it would fix poverty in Africa?
Yes.
Maybe, I guess, but I don't know what.
Yeah.
Sure.
Is
from
there
a-
a
unreasonable fantasy.
Is there a hypothetical where doing a bad creates a net good that outweighs the bad thing?
That's
Yeah.
This is the
that's a
worst
poor
trolley
hypothetical
problem.
debate though, right? It's a poor hypothetical question.
Sure.
If you posed that question in an academic debate, people would be fucking laughing because they'd be
Sure.
that's a terrible hypothetical.
It's just kind of memey. That's why I said that first. My second question is there any utility to be gained through slurs?
Are we washing this?
No. I
personally, from
really.
from what I have seen with regards to the way that we use about all the stuff I can find around the usage of slurs and the way that effectively works with regards to people's lexicons and the impact it has on people, I would argue that ultimately speaking, there are a subsect of slurs which don't have do not have the positive effect that you're looking for, which is, I'm assuming, the effect of trying to appeal to a certain group of people, but in fact have the negative effect of appealing too well to those people, in that they they don't necessarily be convinced to your ideas as much as they do just see the words that you're using, and it just sort of spreads to the people that watch you. There are certain I'm not on board with the idea of that you can't be an aggressive person in debates. I think that's ridiculous. I think you can be aggressive, you can be very forward in tonality. I fully support use of swear words in debates. I believe that you can absolutely call someone you're debating with a fuckwit. It doesn't affect your argument at all. But I wouldn't go as far to start calling them maybe the R word or some shit, right? Because there's no advantage to be gained from doing that, really.
As slurs go, if you're talking about in a reclamation sense, I guess there's a merit to. Okay, you're just talking about like randomly just calling somebody the R slur at the end of a debate.
Well, maybe
Be
in
so-
that sense, I would maybe argue that one. But I'm more along the lines of asking about. I'm sorry for derailing the conversation. You just mentioned slurs, and I had a stream about this recently, so I was curious.
You just mentioned slurs, and
you-
my God, do I love slurs! I just wanted to
You know
move
me,
it.
I just slow down all the time.
Listen,
It's
the amount of times I've had to have a conversation about Gutian, I've had to listen to Gutian talk about.
Hold
slurs
up a
at the
second.
GOC. No, not in a negative.
About
How many
Gutian,
slurs
I'm not-
does Gutian use?
About-
Damn.
Privately, you'd be surprised.
Privately.
Wow.
Gutian and I talk about slurs a lot privately.
Yeah, sure. Talk about, sure.
Oh my god.
I mean, there's a lot of I kind of want to reframe the discussion a little bit, because there's a lot of like, it's sort of like a meme at this point how discussed to death it is, like, oh, when can you say this slur or whatever, and a lot of the conversation is focused around like, well, you shouldn't say slurs because they might affect other people, and you're not really fully aware of like who you're having an impact on and how that impact is going to be taken away. And that's mostly true, but the other half of it that I think needs to be, that most people don't seem to stop to consider from what I can see, is in the same way that you're not necessarily able to tell 100% whether or not someone that you're speaking to is racist or is someone who will be harmed by a slur. You don't necessarily know yourself if you are racist or homophobic or sexist in some way, that you yourself using the slur reinforces it leads to a mindset where you're reinforcing some sort of like casual, unexamined bigotry within yourself. This is like
Sure.
an actual, like, very real phenomenon that's
I know.
like,
I have talked about this
Yeah.
before. I've talked about this before multiple times.
Yeah.
I've talked about this with everyone that I ever talked about this, like with regards to the N-word debate, right? And, like the fact that there's actually studies into like lexicon usage that showcase that the more that you use something, even
Right.
in private, regardless of where you're using it, the more it becomes part of your generalized speech patterns, and the more likely your brain is to jump to that word in situations. And the example I always use is, say you're on a bridge, somebody's on that bridge opposite you, and they shoot you, and it just slips out, and you're in front of, like, I don't know, 500,000 people, and now you said it openly, and beforehand all you did was say it in private to all your other Swedish
Right.
friends. And now it's slipped out.
Amazing. Oh my god.
Hypothetically.
Oh my god.
Hypothetically, this could be anybody. This could be any person
Okay,
with Swedish
okay.
friends
So
who's
let
on a
me-
bridge at some point.
let me posit let me posit some memes here. If you okay, so I use an example kind of often. So I think that you can utilize some slurs to blow the mask off, essentially, of certain people, people who are being kind of outright I don't know, it kind of anything. I would argue against the use of some in this case, but for my example, I said that say I had a friend growing up. I had a friend. He was an Italian guy. His dad was like a super Italian man who kind of had a lot of Catholic beliefs. He was a very short, stout man.
He was Evo, not that super fascist dude. That's his dad.
Oh my
he
god.
says, he was
Ebola, yeah.
Alfredo.
Alfredo, yeah.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't use slurs like that. He was Alfredo, and I mentioned that there was a. I didn't mention. My friend mentioned that someone had invited us to like a gay pride thing. I don't remember exactly what it was. It wasn't like the normal like city gay pride parade, but it was a little gay pride thing. And his dad, he didn't like use any slurs, and he didn't like call any names, but he was like, he said something along the lines of well, they are going to try to get you to like have a lot of sex, and they like, really otherizing terms, stuff like that. But like where I posited that you could blow the mask off in this situation and like have them like remove all deniability if you said something along the lines of, you can just say the F slur, like, like, hey, like, go ahead, like, and that style of I call it blowing the mask off, where you remove deniability, where you're like very clearly still in like adversarial position here, but where you.
So you're saying like
Yeah.
use a slur in like a confront, like in a
Yeah,
confrontation.
I don't know. Could you not just be like, what do you mean by they? Who are you talking about?
Well,
when
then,
you say
then,
that? Like,
then
you
they
don't
have
need
like
to
a deniability. That's my argument. Is like when you say,
Well,
like, oh,
you
well, who do you mean?
push them in a way that isn't directly just you saying the slur word, right? Like, I mean, like, is the slur word a requirement there for being confrontational? I guess.
I don't think it's a requirement
question.
by any means. But just that you can utilize it sometimes. Like there are certain cases where I think there's like a utility to be gained through it there. Like in that case, my other piece of this is that I feel like a lot of these people, a lot of reactionaries in general, have like a in my brain I call it like their SJW meter, and once you like pass the threshold of that meter, like they're not going to listen to you anymore. Like they don't care. Like you haven't convinced them of anything, then they will refuse to engage with your ideas. And I think that you can sometimes utilize certain words like this. You know, they hang out in a lot of edgy spaces to get through that defense mechanism. So I think there's like a lot of like automatic defense mechanisms that these people have that utilization of some terms in like a hyper specific sense could you could get through to them. And
I don't know. I think that the problem there is we're using that like very specific circumstance as a way of justifying a very broad behavior.
oh, I don't
Is
want
the
to
problem.
justify the broad behavior. I would still like criticize it in like every other sense. And even if I wanted, even if I were to do it on a platform like this, that I would like spend the time maybe before and after, depending on how much time, like, you know, if I knew I was going to do it, arguing about like why slurs are bad and why like we shouldn't use them and why, you know, they reinforce bad hierarchies. And, you know, every time you say like the N word or whatever, it reinforces, you know, racism, makes, you know, puts fear into people, you know, like I would argue all of the bad pieces too.
Yeah, I mean, this is all great stuff because I'm gonna probably have to be argued as a Vosh in like a week's time. But it's all wonderful to get out in the open now and get figured out because I'm going back on the show again. Because we do hang out occasionally now and then. We're not confrontational, but I do try to get across to him ideas about maybe like why you shouldn't be using the R word so much. But yeah, I don't know. I think that at the end of the day, the problem is there's that we. The argument for that, I normally see people who argue pro that. I normally use the argument that you're using as a way of like trying to argue for other stuff, right? Other usage where it's just generalized usage, because it's like, oh well, would we if we're not okay with that, then like what are we not okay with then, right? Like are we not okay with it here? We're not okay with it here. What about here? Like kind of thing, right? I try to like find like exactly where the line is for like where it is okay to be using that kind of thing. And the problem is that like if we I think some of those words sometimes maybe there is just a line where it's just not really okay to be using it, generally speaking, because its functionality is so specific for it to be like even argued for like it to be useful that I don't think it works.
So
What do you mean don't think it works?
oh, well, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go
if
ahead.
the functionality is so specific to like a very, very certain circumstance, then I think that the attempt to try to argue it in a broader stroke is a silly one. I think it's a real logical jump. That makes sense?
I mean, I guess I understand what you're saying. What were you gonna say?
Like if you sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, my whole thing was just like, while this hypothetical is really interesting, there's also a huge like. I encourage people to become very intimate with the vast vocabulary of the English language. There's a whole bunch of words out there you can say that are real fucking mean that you don't have to be shitting on anybody else's identities for.
Wait,
Sure.
like what?
Like fuckwit.
Like fuckwit. Like
Always gonna
fuckwit.
stand by
Like
fuckwit.
I mean, you know, even just using tonality, you know, you can get a whole lot of things across without having to, you know, debase yourself like that.
Yeah,
you know,
you can steal from some good shows as well. Like you know, like fuck, was it that Gazorpazorp field thing? You white guilt, you.
Like it's a real term too.
I just love that. Just the you white guilt, John. just a good fucking line.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, you could just be like that fucking piece of shit, and like if you give it like a good, or like those fucking assholes or something like that, you know, the word fuck, it's just got such good fucking consonants to it. Well, exactly. Like if you're trying to pull off this sort of like Splinter Cell shit, like You know?
My chat is canceling you for quoting Rick and Morty, by the way, Gutian.
Oh, damn.
I like Rick and Morty.
Damn.
Don't come at me. I think it's a good TV series. I'm always a fan of Dan Harmon. I like Community as well.
Are we debating Rick and Morty now?
How
Is
much
this what
yeah.
we
I
devolved
really
into?
don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to tell
You
people
want to
what I
debate
believe
fucking
about that.
media? That's my fucking field.
Amazing. Amazing. Weeb is a good one. Fucking weebs.
But okay, like I think yeah, like there's okay. So one of my chat
Sorry.
just like was saying like how like about idiot, right? Like, oh, like why is idiot okay to use? You know, I almost said it. The R word isn't okay to use. And I
people
think
are
the issue there it is down to the severity of the user and how like our community and like how the generalized community views it in as a whole at that period of time. The R word is a lot closer to us as far as like when we were using it as a very, very aggressive term against a specific group of people. And idiot, on the other hand, is long since like devolved since when it was actually being used as a way of referring to people who were believed to be mentally stunted, which I think was like in 1800s, I think, early
So
1900s.
in another 100 years, we can say the R slur?
Potentially, if it's removed enough, that might be the case. I can't look into the 100 years in the future and say what words
Sure,
might become fine.
I think it's interesting. The
Like,
line for ableist slurs is always really interesting to me. Because
Yeah, well,
I struggle
English language
with,
it evolves, right? It's
Oh, yeah,
I mean, this
sure,
whole
all
thing
the
is a
time, all the
subjective field, right? It's more down to like subjectively what is society
Right.
like okay with in general? What is
Well,
society not okay with?
So there's actually another example of that that's been something that's come up in communities I've been in, and it's around an antiquated slur for black people that is commonly used in leftist communities to talk about egoists. Is spook.
Yeah, spook, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear so many people saying it, and without any sort of, there's very little talk about it in comparison with other, other antiquated things, and it's always a contentious thing about languages changing and things kind of fall out of favor, right? Out of favor in use. And kind of get rotated back in. I mean, some words, especially that one, has so many different uses that it was kind of like it doesn't have the extreme pointedness of the R slur or the N slur. Like, it's just like it could.
The connotation of the word has been removed from its original meaning.
Sure.
Partially.
And-
there were also multiple meanings for a very long time. It meant a government worker for an intelligence agency as well.
I mean, I think
at the same time.
I think I even said that on one of your streams once. Like, hey, isn't that a slur or something like that?
Wait, okay, hang on, because this might fall into subcategory for me is like that. What was that other one? The Cuban one. There was like Cuban right wingers. What was that word?
Is it the G word?
I don't know why, but my brain is jumping to gelatinous, and that's not right.
I'm gonna feel really bad if I
That's not
say
even
this.
close.
Wait, is it-
Gusano? Am I allowed to say that?
Gasano? I think that might be the word. Yeah.
I think it is the
Gasano.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like okay, so like for
I thought
me
you
like
meant I thought you meant like gringo or something like that.
no, like,
Oh,
isn't that like cowboy
Yeah,
films?
right.
I have no idea.
Not a cowboy.
But like so Gasano, right? Like it like there's like Gasano as far as I'm aware, and what I can find from any like dictionary source defining what that terminology means, Gasano is explicitly used to refer to people who were opposed to the communist Cuban regime, right? That were opposed to that, like there's who were like right wingers, who were like right wing Latino or Latinx people, right?
Mhm.
Like it's explicitly for that kind of purpose. But then people have seen arguing that it is explicitly designed to be like it's like a targeted slur for Latin people, like people like Latinx people, which
I can stop you there, Gush, and it's not a slur. It's just not.
I will tell you, it is a class-based thing, right? Or it's a class-based or like politically belief-based terminology, right? As far as I can find, like definition-wise. And as far as I'm aware, I thought spook was also it was designed to define for like a agent, right? Like a government agent or a person who worked for a government agency in some sort of like format, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that's what it is that's what's in the media more. Like you don't hear it used as a slur for black people nearly as often as you hear that it's a CIA agent or an FBI agent, or even a scary ghost. But the thing is, like, it's still back there. I avoid using it personally for that reason, but like it's it's just,
I don't know why, but when you say ghosts, I can think of that. Is this that fucking meme? All these ghosts and I can't get them, boo.
yeah.
Good meme.
Oh, thanks for the bit, Slam.
I watched a lot of Vine comps recently. I've had a real rough week. They're all shit show.
Woof.
Sargon, then Mauler. It's too much.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, Gutian, about Mahler, you just have to block and move on. Don't engage with anybody else, okay?
That's not how
Engaging
Gutian
gets you
works.
nowhere.
That's not how
No,
Gutian
no,
works.
I'm telling you right now. I'm from like the bottom of my heart. I'm reaching out to you, human being to human being right now. If
That's
you
not gonna
engage,
work.
we're only asking for
It's
like
not.
pain.
You're wasting.
Because
You're
no
wasting
one
your
there,
time.
no one there is there to engage honestly. I swear to God, I've argued with so many of them. I literally had to walk someone down the line of why saying the movie was probably funny, it made a lot of money, why that was like a reasonable thing for someone to say.
Oh, sure. I've already muted a lot of the Mauler fans. and
I
shit.
know. I literally argued with like 3 or 4 hours with the same people about this idea, and they're not there to engage honestly. I would not continue engaging.
If you're gonna do it, don't do it for free. Do it on stream. Get that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
No, I've already. Mauler wants me to come on and do a 4v1. Even though apparently I'm repulsive as shit.
Jeez.
Because I called them all cunts. Which is apparently the line. I found the line for Mauler, which is calling them cunts.
Isn't
That's
Mueller
it.
an American? I think that's why.
That would make sense.
I did say in my debate offer that I would debate him on how stupid he was, so maybe that didn't help either.
Alright, that's a pretty good one.
I made the same thing clear when I was talking to Sargon. Like, I'm not going to go on there and debate
mean-
and be nice. I don't
No, of
do
course not.
nice.
If
Not
there
those
is
kind of debate platforms.
if there is any sort of objective measures that can be drawn from media, it would be that Mahler doesn't know what he's talking about.
Mueller has no fucking clue what he's saying.
Blue Kobold says in my chat, just say they're objectively cunts. Perfect. There you go. Easy clap.
Objectively, in my subjective opinion. I'm so over the inability for people to understand what the fuck objective is. So over that. Just having
Mahler's
people
gonna
just
make-
come in and
Mueller's
just
gonna make
say
a
like,
7-hour response to this 4-minute.
yeah, I know it's happening.
Yeah.
They're already talking. Literally, he was like, "Oh, we're already making it."
All right, the
Go fuck off.
real competition is whose VOD he's gonna use, because there's 3 people streaming at the moment.
Oh God.
no,
We'll
it
actually go over each individual VOD and critique every person by the way
Amazing.
that they look, and then do the arguments after.
You right.
I do look forward to getting roasted.
I mean, I am looking.
It'll probably be Brian's, because they can see everyone on Brian's
That's
screen.
true.
That's true. I honestly, I want to drag in if I'm doing like a 4v1 versus Mauler, I want to see if I can make my own A team of people to bring. Like, I'm
So
not trying
you
to.
bring me.
I want to see if I can bring my own A team, so it's like a 4v4, not a 4v1.
That'd be good.
Because that would
Then
be
you've just recreated the Raj Royale.
Oh my God.
No.
Okay, I have to go. This is a fun conversation. I'm sorry I have to come in and then leave early. Or
It's
come
alright.
in late and then leave early, but see you everybody.
Have a good night, Lexi.
And be safe.
You too. Oh gosh.
Oh god. Oh,
I'd
fuck,
make
I have to change.
I'd make the joke I normally do, but Lexi has a huge audience.
I mean, huge.
Bigger than mine.
Well, yeah,
Uh,
but I mean,
4 times bigger than mine.
yeah, it's bigger than any of ours.
Yeah.
Probably bigger than all of ours combined, but I mean, still.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Let's not put ourselves down here. Doesn't help that we all share the same 4 people.
That's fair.
we all have one viewer that we pass around. That's
That's what
small
communism
left
is,
tube.
baby.
I
Yeah.
love
Small left twitch.
I love that. I love that. Christian comes onto my stream and she's like, "Hey, I recognize people from this chat," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's literally 1/4 of your chat. Fuck
We all
off."
share the same
Yeah.
viewers, and we all share the same toothbrush. That's how it works.
Same
Sorry.
toothbrush, same poop sock.
I raided into Aiden Wolf tonight, came out into here, and then immediately fucking like 3 of the people in my chat that I raided into Aiden were here.
Damn.
Amazing.
Damn.
I mean, excuse me. Amazing.
Amazing.
But yeah, I think like there's the thing with like I think
Damn,
with
Mick.
debates, right? In general, just brings us back to debates because we got way off topic there.
Oh, sure.
Was I supposed to be moderating? My bad.
I don't know what you're doing.
I was talking.
But the thing with debates, right, for me especially, is that ultimately speaking, they kind of fall into like a, I guess like a personal categorization, right? Like I don't try to make people who don't like debating try and debate. I said I think it's pointless. But if you want to debate, I say go for it. Like if you want to and you feel capable in doing so, then go for it. But be prepared to accept criticism from the people that like are in the same sphere as you about the way that you engage in that debate as like a way of like trying to like improve like how you come across optically speaking, right? I think it's very important, and that's why I'm normally a big fan of going and critiquing other left-wing people, right, or people that claim to be left-wing when they debate, because that's advantageous to me, because they reflect onto, and as shitty as it is that they reflect onto, as shitty as it is that I have to go out there and like somehow have to like defend a whole bunch of other leftists that I never talk to. It is how people treat it, right? So I will absolutely like go and critique people. Like I mean, like a good example was I did like a 3-hour critique of like Mike's debating style, like a week ago, because I was like, Mike had some problems with his debate, like what he was doing. He wasn't presenting like good logical arguments. He was just kind of like saying things that had no real connection to anything, and it was looking bad, and it was making him look optically bad in front of people like Destiny and Mike who jumped on that. Like, and that was like what I was saying, which is, it was weird that those are the 3 people who are ostentatiously like left-leaning or progressive liberal were fighting each other, while all the right-wing people just looked on and just said dumb shit. That's a Raj Royale.
That is the Raj Royale for sure. Oof. Did you show it to him?
Did I show it? I didn't. I mean, he raided into me while I was doing it, so I think he potentially saw some of it.
All right, cool.
Whether, like I say, like whether he took anything away from it, I don't know. That's anybody's guess. But like I said, like I'm not here to go around and defend people. I'm not here to defend like people on Twitch and stuff. I'm here to be critiquing and to make 0 friends. That's the way I'm rolling.
Yeah, you've made no friends
You're
here.
doing a great job. No friends here.
This is different. None of you guys debate. You just do gaming shit mostly.
For the most part.
Yeah,
I tried.
Yeah,
I
Monk
tried,
debates
I
a
tried
bit.
debating tonight. I mean, I tried talking about like the shit tonight, and I got really fucking drained. Just couldn't.
Yeah.
You gotta have the energy. Some people can do it, some people just can't. It's just kind of the way it goes.
Yeah.
Some people get energy from that aggression and from that pushback.
Yeah.
Like,
I can only really talk about news when there's someone pushing back or that I can like feed off of in some way. Honestly.
Yeah, I need to banter. Like,
Yeah,
straight up.
yeah.
I can't.
It
I
helps
can't
me a
just
lot
do,
too.
like just chatting on my own. I said it on my stream. I'm not Gutian. I'm not fucking Lexi. I'm not like anyone
Monk
who
debated
does
a
that.
monarchist. Yeah, that is true. I did do that.
Why the fuck did you do that?
For the
I mean,
clout,
look.
baby.
You still like
fucking-
if you want to, I can bring some of the shitty people I always debate over if you want. There's like got a couple of like Islamic like
I send them to you.
People-
Fuck off.
I can bring over. They're the worst. They're the worst people in the world to argue with because they just don't have an argument at all. I can bring those over. They're always great.
Oh, that guy? Fuck that guy.
I could bring the biological essentialist, but also not essentialist over. The person who claimed biological essentialism and then was like agreed when I was like pointing out how there isn't such a thing, and I was like, well, no, but that just proves it, right? I'm like, well, no, it doesn't.
More of a biological spiritualist in the vein of Evola.
I'm an anarcho-monarchistic, eco-fascist spiritualist.
Yeah. Also, just to check the waters here, 'cause I might be writing it sometime tomorrow night or tonight. What do you think about a video talking about J-Reg? I have no idea how to pronounce his name.
Oh,
No one
J-Reg.
knows.
J-Reg.
About
dude that
J-Reg?
nobody- The dude that nobody knows his politics, but
Exactly.
Probably
I want to do a video
libertarian.
talking about the fact that his satirical, the way that he uses satire, ultimately is a failure of the uses of satire because it doesn't actually present any positions alongside it. It doesn't present actual like any concrete ideas. All it does is just satire laid on top of satire, ultimately
think it's-
meaning that it
I
appeals
mean-
to everybody.
There's a debate to be had there, but like I don't think it's satire. I think he's just generally just memeing.
Wait, did you say there's a debate to be had there?
He calls what he does satire. I'm going
Yeah.
off his own definition. He calls his own stuff
yeah.
political.
Okay, if he calls his
I-
own
I
stuff
would be
satire,
interested
then
in
yeah, I'd be interested in that.
The problem is it's satire directed at everybody.
Yeah.
To the point where anybody can look at his stuff and be like, oh, like everyone justifies it for their own ends, right? Like
I
everybody
completely
justifies it
disagree.
like, oh, it's
I
on my
completely
side.
disagree. If you go into one of the J-Regs videos, especially like the more popular ones, like the political rap, and you go into that video and you come out thinking, man, this kid is a right-leaning authoritarian. You've fucked up.
Well,
Like,
I think it's probably because of the fact that he mocks leftist ideology as well as right-wing ideology.
He does, but like he's harder on right-wing I fail to see where you can come out thinking that he's anywhere near right.
I've seen right-wing people come out and say that he's harder on left-wing
Okay,
ideology stuff. So
but-
I'm starting to suspect. This is what I'm suspecting that everybody looks
Like,
at
it
it and
doesn't
goes,
matter.
"Oh, he's clearly been harder on the other people and not on us."
It
as
doesn't.
much.
It doesn't matter like what he's trying to be harder on. If it's possible
mean,
to
yeah.
walk away from his videos as like a right wing person saying, "Ha, lefties destroyed,"
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
you're not really actually doing.
But
Although-
there's like I said, there's an interesting conversation to be had about like this like thing, right? Like where like it's if you're using it as satire, but there's no like base position that you're trying to like use as satire to point at. Like if you're not using it to point at anything in particular.
You're just gonna have to watch the videos on stream. That's just about it.
All right, so the right, I mean, yeah, but the
Listen,
the
like,
right wing
sorry.
people can come away from a lot of things thinking that the like what Sargon just did a video about fucking Starship Troopers, right? Where he or maybe not just, but he did something about Starship Troopers where he came out saying
mean-
that it was a like pro right wing.
Yeah,
Sure,
but,
but
but
what-
the same
and
could
leftists
the
all
same
think
could,
the
yeah,
joke-
leftists think that Joker is
Yeah, like this
Okay.
whole the Joker movie is a left wing movie. It's very easy to read into things what you'd like
Yeah.
to read into them, rather
Especially when you
Yeah.
have your own personal ideology or bias going into that, it's very easy.
especially
to
especially
read
when
your own thing.
especially when the people that are assigning the quote unquote actual meaning to it are being crypto about it.
right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but that's like there is a big thing here, right? Like with this kind of thing, where like there could be like what I want to talk about here would be the fact that ultimately the only possible like satire that he's like the
Also,
only
I just
possible like
want to plug something real quick. Kiara and I are going to have a debate about debating about debates.
Oh wow.
Probably tomorrow.
shitty plug. Midway through was already having a conversation. But like
It was satire, Gutian, don't worry.
but like there is listen, like there is this like thing where like his whole like the whole real position that he's having here, as far as like the satire goes, would be the only thing I can really take away from that as like an underlying consistent target here is the idea that any political belief is stupid, right? Or any political belief is ridiculous, right? Is a satirical or like is ridiculous thing that's to point at here, right? Because he's blowing every political position as a ridiculous position into proportion, right? Which is the problem is that like it's
South Park. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Sure. Right, like it, and like I said, like the problem, like if we go back and point to other examples of like the one of the like the best known examples of a satirical piece from the past would be obviously the Modest Proposal, right? Does everyone know the Modest Proposal?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But a yes.
Well, I do. Yeah. The that eating babies. Yes.
Yeah, a modest proposal for preventing the children of poor people from being a burden to their parents or country and for making them beneficial to the public. Which is basically about how we should eat poor people's children.
Mm-hmm.
But like the whole like that satirical piece was blowing up the idea about like it was blowing up these idea of like the heartlessness that like British people had in that period of time towards poor people and towards and like policies that like the government had against poor people and especially Irish poor people in general. By saying like, oh well, you know, to fix the economic problems, we should go ahead and force all the poor people to sell their children as food to the rich people, right? Like that seems like the obvious choice here if we hate the poor people so much, right? Like it was like, but that's like such a common idea of like satire. But the thing is like that satire has a very clear and obvious target in it. It's a very clear and obvious like specific like policies or ideas that it is targeting, and that's kind of like why it works so well as a satirical piece is because it people know what it's trying to mock and therefore know explicitly what like to be looking for when they look at that as a satirical piece. If you have nothing to look, if you have no anchor for a satirical piece to base it off of, then it's basically just it's like irony or hyperbole for hyperbole or irony's sake.
Right.
It sounds like you just made the video. All right, cut it. We'll put it all up on the web tomorrow.
Put it on YouTube.
I'm gonna make it more like 12 minutes.
Skillshare.
Check out Skillshare.com. Promo code fucking hell.
Yeah, it's crazy. I know.
Check out
Look at me
Skillshare.com
making videos.
Mauler is a cunt.
Wow. Wowie.
We don't want Mauler fans coming here, okay? It's bad enough they're all on my Twitter.
Yeah,
right now.
I really don't want them.
I said the cursed word. They're gonna come here.
I know
Oh,
they're not. I
no.
don't think they found my Twitch yet, so we're safe. They haven't found my Twitch yet.
They can't be that smart. They like Mauler.
Don't worry, they're not that smart. They'll never find us.
Do you plug your Twitch on your YouTube?
But it's very near it's very much at the very bottom.
Oh,
it's
is it at the bottom of the description? Oh, you're fine.
Yeah,
They
it's
can
way
read
down
that
there.
far.
Way down there.
You can't, they can't read that far. You're fine.
Yeah.
Hey,
How long
to
is
be
this going on
fair-
for? Because I'm down
To
to
be
play
fair,
Raft
to
or
give,
like.
to give Mauler
Halo.
fans the one piece of praise they deserve, literally no one looks at the description. Don't act like hey,
Hey,
oh, they never read.
I read descriptions here and there when I'm intrigued, when I'm drawn in,
Uh,
lured in.
I usually
I
make it
also-
at
okay,
least 75% of the way through, too.
When I'm reading when I'm watching leftist things, I read the description for sources.
Okay, here's my one compliment for Mauler. I'm happy to see that if they do an EFAP episode, it means they've actually watched my video all the way through. Unlike Sargon, who watched 10 minutes of my video and then gave up.
Two Sargons.
And yet is somehow prepared to come and debate me on my video response to him.
When is that happening? Anyway?
Amazing.
I have no idea. He responded. He messaged me like 3 days ago, being like 3 days ago, being like, hey, let's do it on Thursday. I was like, I can't. I have work. I'm not free at all. And then he just never replied. So, don't know. Maybe next week if we have the ability to do it next week.
Did he flake?
If he's flaked, I have a video prepared for if he flakes. Because at that point, I'll have had 3 different people drop out from wanting to debate me.
What you should also do is probably ask him to read the Communist Manifesto and then not talk about it. It'd be pretty funny.
Look, the Communist Manifesto is way too long. You know he's reading that.
Yeah, it
That's
takes
at
like
least
20,
like
it takes-
1,000
It
Sargons.
takes like 6 Sargons to read.
Yeah.
Sargon's not gonna read that shit.
It takes 6 Sargons to read that pamphlet, yep.
Sargon is 5
Sargons
minutes of
to
nothing,
fall
okay?
Sleep 1/3 of the way through coitus. I really like that comment.
That's coitus.
Deeply loving that use of coitus, absolutely. Also, the shortening, coit, big fan.
Queep.
Would you Would you like to coit?
Alright, I'm putting OJ in your chat for that.
Oh, god damn it. Yeah, tell Sargon to get it on Audible. Maybe you'll actually read it that way.
Tell Sargon you have a link on your Twitter. See if he gets to it.
Amazing.
You're playing games, right, Trash, at some point?
Yeah, I was gonna play some games. Probably gonna play some.
I'm gonna wait into you.
Okay.
Alright, short stream peeps, I know, but it was a random stream. And you know what? You know what the rule of this channel is? You have no control here. Fuck you if you think you do.
Amazing.
I decide how long the streams are. I decide how long things go. I decide what we talk about. And if you don't like it, you can go and watch Trash Can or Lexi or Rami or who the fuck Leon Cyphers is.
Wow. There are
They're saying she's saying
3 other
people that
people
are
in this
she's
call
saying that
who are
she's saying
streamers.
She's saying people that are on. Chill out.
Wow.
I'm just saying people that are on. I'm not saying anyone in particular. Jesus fucking Christ, get your own fucking thing.
But also
Holy
check
shit.
out CursedMonk and
Bye.
KaaliaWithart.
Straight up, like 1/4 of Gutian's audience already watches me.
I know.
Brian, you have to act surprised.
Oh my god! I just got
was a
raided
random-
by Gutian gang. Fucking hell!
Wow.
I had no
Gutian,
idea that
I
was
have-
coming.
Gutian, I haven't talked to her in like weeks.
Oh my god, how was your stream, Gutian?
Hated it every moment. Shit. I wish I could just. You know what? I just want to get to the stage where I can just stream whatever the fuck I want and still do well. That's all I want.
Yeah, that's a dream, right?
You and I have extremely opposite like problems at the moment. I can't stream serious stuff, and you can't stream games.
And apparently people like it when I do serious stuff, and that's bananas to me. Bananas. Thank you for the follow, Atomic Source.
Anyway, I'm gonna go to bed.
You're gonna go to bed? Okay.
I'm glad to see that I
staying up.
destroyed Brian in the marketplace of ideas. But
Oh!
at the same time.
Yo, what up, EOL?
Oh, shit.
Alrighty, everyone, have a good night.
I was reading
Night, Monk.
Gutian's chat. I don't know why I didn't say hi to EOL there. Should we hop back into the Discord?
Yeah, probably. Let's do that.
Okay.
Alright. Hold on. Womp, 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 womp. Amara, thank you for the follow. As I get everything working again. Alright, here we go.
Like how the moment we start talking about some. Okay.
Okay, we're all in one room now. Yay.
Okay. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
and
all
now
right.
we start the revolution.
And now we're ready.
Now that Monk's gone, start the revolution.
Now that fucking naysayer's gone.
Jesus
Artemis,
Christ.
I'm sorry, I wasn't reading Gutian's chat really. It was a debate, it was talking, and Lexi
Oh
was
my
there.
god. Okay, I want to point out that my Mauler video has like, it's not like view-wise, it's nowhere near my biggest video. Like, not even close. It's like a mediocre video.
Okay, before
But
we before we start talking again, what the fuck are we playing?
I don't know. Let's just chat for a second. I need to like kind of decompress for a moment before we get into anything.
Okay.
But like, it already has like, it's already dropped to like a 70% like ratio. It's already got 600 comments. It's just too many comments.
Also, I'm pretty sure someone in my Discord when I streamed late was just like, "Is Kaalia becoming Brian?" And I was like, "What?"
Maybe. And who am I becoming then? Oh God.
I'm getting to the point. Also, hey, if you're listening to Brian right now and you're not sub to me. On YouTube.
You forgot
On YouTube, yeah, on YouTube, yeah.
on YouTube.
Because I want to hit 15k subs before the end of the year. So I've only got less than a month to go.
Follow me on Twitter because there's one person I really want to get more what's it called, followers than.
You can get fucked, Kaalia.
Too bad, I'm a mod. I'm posting my fucking link in chat.
I'm
And
also
also
not-
follow my fucking Twitter so I can keep up with Kaalia. God damn it.
It wasn't you.
Oh really?
That's what you were saying. Get fucked about. Calm
That
down.
that was what I was saying. Get fucked about, yeah.
Calm down, Brian.
Also, I should do that thing right now. Hey, if you've liked what's been going on, go ahead and hit that follow button. Come on, it's right there. It's easy. I'm pretty cool sometimes. And then if you gotta. Thanks for the host, Delru. Shut the fuck up. And if you got a Twitch Prime laying around, you could do a lot worse. I got some cute emotes. I do, in fact, have an account on the horrible bird site. God damn it.
I'm sorry, my ass was acting up.
Oh, yeah, I know. It sounded like you were really wheezing there.
Yeah, I was having a hard time breathing there for a second. Sorry about that. What was going on?
More like my asshole.
Wow. What a beard.
I didn't say
I
my
grew it
asthma.
myself.
I said asthma. What the fuck are you on about?
It's a very nice burb.
Burp.
It's Corvus. My burb.
I still have to figure out like what the fuck I'm doing for my other two emotes.